sure to convey the message clearly that anyone inquiring about it or trying to get to the bottom of it would die. It was that simple. And that helps explain in some ways something that's hard from a distance to understand, how people who could have known in some ways about the massacre because they were related to someone inside the village but weren't there that day could have been quiet for so long, because the fear was that powerful and that intense. And of course the Rios Montt regime and successive governments always denied that that massacre had ever taken place at the hands of their own soldiers. So given that context and that history, Oscar's case in many ways seems like a miracle. That he was ever found, that he was ever put together again decades later with his biological father. But of course it was not a miracle. It was the result of years and years of dedicated work by a group of activists and investigators, and one dogged prosecutor who was operating under the radar quietly, looking into this, pulling on that thread for 15 years. And it was a very hard mystery to unravel. As I said, it took years before the lid was lifted off that well, so we never even saw the exhumed bodies of the victims of this massacre until 1995. And when we did, that was through an exhumation not by the government, but by an Argentine non-governmental organization, forensic anthropologists. The testimony that was finally collected of two soldiers who, out of some mixture of remorse or fear, finally came forward and told what they had done, was gathered by a human rights activist, Aura Elena Farfan, not by, again, the government, until the prosecutor, Sara Romero, got involved. The only official documents that were ever found about Dos Erres, the only government documents, were US documents. They were US declassified cables from the US Embassy in Guatemala City, which days after the massacre, because of information from a reliable source, sent a team of investigators from the embassy in a helicopter to fly over the site and then to interrogate or interview people at the Las Cruces military base nearby. And on the basis of the information they were able to gather, again, days after the massacre, they concluded that the army was likely responsible for the killing of those citizens. A couple of weeks, by the way, after sending that cable to Washington, the Reagan administration went ahead with a long-planned offer of helicopters and spare parts to the Guatemalan army, despite the information that was reflected about the army's role in that massacre. The DNA evidence that helped produce some of the most important revelations about the massacre, again, was created, obtained, and processed by